This is the Fearless Finance Podcast with Amy Ross. Amy and the team at Gold Shield Wealth are dedicated to helping adults plan for and manage the hurdles they may face on their journey to retirement. Get more, including contact information in the show notes. Now, Fearless Finance with financial advisor Amy Ross.
Welcome back to Fearless Finance with Amy Ross, all powered by Gold Shield Wealth. You can reach out to the team at any time. That number is 843-585-5223. We have a representative standing by right now or online at goldshieldwealth.com. My name is Mark Owens. And Amy, we were talking a little bit before we got started this weekend. This time of the year, we keep getting these teases of spring and summer, 75, and it just screams a patio and a cold beer. And then Mother Nature says, not so fast, and brings in another cold front. I just get excited.
It's a bad joke, isn't it? It's so
right?
mean.
I know, right? It's like Pavlov's dog. Russian psychologist rang a bell when feeding his lab dogs. Eventually, the ringing sound alone made them salivate because they were expecting food. So for me, it's like the sun comes out and I am salivating for a patio and a cocktail. What about you? What's your little Pavlov's dog in your world, Amy?
You know, I working in radiation therapy departments for almost 20 years, I was stuck in lead-lined and 3-foot concrete walls. And so now, anytime I see it sunny, I'm like that dog salivating to get outside. Even to the point of this past week in my office, I don't have a nice chair outside. So that's on my Amazon list because I was sitting on the sidewalk on the curb every chance I could get in between clients and appointments just to get me some vitamin D. So I'm like, people probably think I need a ride. I'm sitting here waiting on an Uber or something. But no, I get it. It's like your heart yearns for that, right? It's just beautiful.
And we'll see the other tenants driving by going, oh, there's old Amy
Ross. I think so. Like, who is that? She's just sitting there on the sidewalk. But here I am.
She's fine. Just let her have her moment right now. She's just getting a little sun. I want to flip that to what you do, as a matter of fact, for the families you serve. Because in retirement, there are these emotional triggers that can flip rational retirees into making decisions that could derail a plan. So let's talk about some of them. When we hear about market volatility, that can cause a lot of emotions. How do you handle that?
You know, that's rough. And that's where having someone managing your portfolio for you versus you doing it yourself, you need to take the emotion out. And that is very hard when it's your life savings to take the emotional decisions out. But, you know, that's the worst thing that you want to do when there's a market downturn is lock in your losses. You know, you need to have a properly balanced portfolio so that you can let it come out of it, let the market do its thing, maybe reposition some stuff to get you in a better spot, but not completely just bail because the market's down. But a lot of times, you know, 2008, the generation that's retiring today has lived through 2008, and they've also heard their parents talk about how bad 2008 was. Right. So that can really lead people to somewhat overreact with the emotions when it comes to market volatility.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the market will always continue to be volatile. There's never going to be a time where the market's going to be great forever. We're going to have a volatile market. So when we get so emotional, it's like, what do you get emotional about? I understand it's your money, but this is the ebbs and flows of being in the market.
You know what? A lot of people hear it and they know that it's the truth, but to face the reality of it is not the same.
Right.
You know, it's just like death, right? Everybody knows they're going to die, but when it's actually there, it's a whole different conversation than just talking about it like I am with you.
That's fair.
You know, it is.
And I get the emotion. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not saying downplay a volatile market because it's our money and nobody likes to lose money. So I totally understand.
Like, it's a valid emotion. It is, but it's learning to control that emotion. It's almost like your kids when they throw temper tantrums, right? You know, they've got emotions, and it's our job as parents to teach them how to rein in those emotions and not let the emotions become an unhealthy part of life.
I had a memory pop up on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and when my daughter, she's now 12, but I think she was 2 or 3, and she was in her little car seat, and she asked me to give her a box of raisins. And I gave her the box of raisins. Daddy, open raisins, open raisins. And I opened the wrong end. So instead of opening the top, just that tiny little snack pack, I opened the bottom of it, and I gave them back to her. You talk about temper tantrum. I mean, it was DEFCON 12.
All the raisins were tainted, huh? Every one of them. You ruined them.
I have never in my life, as long as I've known this kid since then, seen an emotional breakdown over a box of raisins. But I get it, because for some people, the raisins are like their money in the market. You get emotional.
Exactly. And it's, like I said, emotions are real. We just have to learn how to control our emotions.
Yep. And that's what you're here for. Again, that number, 843-585-5223. Something we talk about a lot here on Fearless Finance with Amy Ross, all powered by Gold Shield Wealth. Boy, the headline-driven news. We see the headlines. We do the doom scrolling. You talk about causing emotional, irrational decision-making. Again, how are these conversations with the families you serve?
We just sit down and try to talk about it logically. We try to take the emotion out of it and think of it and just say, okay, if we're down, where do you have other money at? And then just look at it and we're being smart about this. We're not gambling with all of your life savings. We've been intentional about how we've positioned it. I always say when you're in retirement, you've graduated into a different phase of intentional investing, not just growth.
Yeah. And we're talking this weekend about emotional triggers that can flip rational retirees, that's you, that's me, into making decisions that quietly derail a plan. And this is something that, you've said it before, a lot of people overlook long-term care and healthcare in retirement. We know it's coming. We know we're not going to be perfectly healthy forever, but there are those health shocks that can be incredibly emotional.
Oh, absolutely. Because, your health can change on a day. I mean, I have a very good friend of mine who's also a client, a physician herself, out of nowhere at 70 was forced into retirement with stage 4 lung cancer in both lungs. So you talk about that health risk being very emotional. But, I sat down with her, and rather than us assuming that cancer was going to get her, we made a plan A and a plan B for her. And luckily she didn't do anything crazy because she's beaten it, so that's where you got to take that emotion out, because a lot of times those health scares can happen. But, with medical advancements and other things like that, don't assume that you're going to die because you get sick. You might not. You might be able to get through it. So you can't let the fear of death start, let's just go sell everything off. Let's just, dump it all. That might not be the case.
But there is a conversation about that long-term care, about the potential for assisted living that you have to have a plan for, because, I've seen it myself with my in-laws. God bless my father-in-law, he passed away of dementia, and they had to put him in a memory care home. Now, we had a plan. We were very lucky my in-laws had a plan. But, you talk about how expensive it was.
It's insane. Here in Myrtle Beach, it's about half the price as it is up north for people. And here, you're looking at $6,000-7,000 a month, and that's today's prices. Things just go up and get more expensive. But yeah, the fact of the matter is a lot of times when your day comes and you need that long-term care, even if your family wants to do it for you, they may not have the resources and the ability to take care of you. Like you said your grandfather, right, had dementia.
It was my father-in-law.
Or your dad, your
my
father-in-law.
Yeah.
But, that's very hard to manage at home. A lot of these illnesses are very hard to manage at home for a family. So that's where having something in place. A lot of the long-term care products that are out now have where you can use the proceeds from that in your own home. And that's what most people want. Nobody wants to go into a nursing care facility of any sort. They would rather stay in their home. So that's one thing that I do look at with all of my retirees. We talk about that. If you need long-term care, what do we have in place for that? Because the last thing I want is for it to erode into your savings, your legacy for your family. So we can make plans in place for that. Call me at 843-585-5223.
You mentioned a second ago that long-term care down here is cheaper than up north. I know you work with a lot of people who have moved from the north. They're retiring at the beach. Welcome to the happy place. Welcome to your forever spot.
Yes.
What do you find when most people move down here to Myrtle Beach? The environment, the economy, the people, just the broad view. What are people happy with down here?
You know what? I think that for starters, the home prices is the biggest thing. Our groceries are actually, I looked it up, I think they're 7 to 8% more expensive than the national average. So our groceries aren't cheap. Certain things aren't cheaper, but the home prices are.
Yeah.
Most of the retirees can retire from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, the Northeast, and come down here and buy a house for cash. So then they have no mortgage payment, which is amazing. But you know what I think the most that people talk about is the lifestyle. The fact that, most people when they move here, they don't have family. So your neighbors will become your family. I just helped a couple make a decision on how to make a down payment on a house yesterday, actually, because the house that they originally bought when they moved here didn't have a living room or a living area large enough for them to be able to invite all of their neighbors and friends that they have made here in just a 2-year span of time. So Myrtle Beach is amazing in that sense that when you move here, we all become family, not by blood, but by our hearts. People you just, I don't know, it's really hard to describe. It truly is.
Southern hospitality is real.
It's a real thing. And it's like, they just, in Myrtle Beach in general, the people here are nice. They're happy. They're supportive of one another. There's always things for the seniors to go out and do, retirees to go do together. Obviously, having 10 and 12 people over for Thanksgiving meal when you have no family, but you got more people in your house than you would if it were real family. Yep. So be careful what you wish for.
Not to mention the golf. Boy,
and there's golf everywhere. Everywhere.
Almighty, some of the best golf.
And restaurants. You could go to a different restaurant every single day and not repeat it. Happy hours. All these restaurants have amazing happy hours. You can go get wonderful food and cocktails dirt cheap.
So if you're new to Myrtle Beach, or maybe you have a friend or a family member that's looking to retire down in this area or just move down to this area, and you just need a little guidance on navigating the economy of Myrtle Beach and the surrounding area, Amy Ross lives here, works here, plays here. This isn't a nationally syndicated show that runs up and down the East Coast and out through the Midwest. This is here to serve the residents of Myrtle Beach. So we invite you to share this information with a friend, a family member that could use a little bit of help. GoldShieldWealth.com, or that number is 843-585-5223. Again, 843-585-5223. And the same can be said if you're from up north or out west and you're now at the beach and you've been working with a big box firm and maybe you're looking for that second opinion service. Amy, I know you offer that. What's one of the biggest reasons that people come to see you for the second opinion service? What are they looking for?
The biggest thing is a lot of people, when they actually retire, they find that the type of advisor they need is different. Up until retirement, you're really in growth phase. So you need someone, you really only need someone who's focused on how do we grow this pot of money that's going to be used. But a lot of times when my people retire here, they want someone that they can come and sit down with and actually talk to and strategize with by looking them in the eye. So if you're relocating, a lot of times they want someone who can walk them down that healthcare journey. I do have almost 20 years of healthcare experience. I have experience of billing the insurance companies for the treatments. So I talk about things with my retirees that a general growth-oriented advisor just they don't focus on. I focus on how do we use it? How do we take it out? How do we make it last? So we're going to talk very much in depth about taxes. What kind of legacy are we trying to leave? Healthcare costs, long-term care costs, all of those things, more so than just how do we grow your money. Now I want you to have a fulfilling retirement.
So for somebody maybe checking out the show for the first time this weekend, Fearless Finance with Amy Ross, all powered by Gold Shield Wealth. You mentioned before you've had a lot of experience in the healthcare world. Before you got into this industry of helping adults to and through retirement, what is it that you did?
My title was a medical dosimetrist. So the degree is actually a medical physics degree. What I did is the radiation oncologist would give me the prescription of how much radiation a cancer patient needed. And then I had to use algorithms and math and geometry to figure out how to deliver those doses of radiation to the patient to either cure them or prolong their life. Sometimes it's palliative care. Without killing them. So that's what I did is I worked with people who were basically struggling for every day of their life. So that's where my style of investing comes or advising comes in is, seize the day, make those plans because time doesn't come back. Once the day goes, it's gone. You never get it back, and it can change very, very quickly on you.
GoldShieldWealth.com to meet Amy. You can shoot her a note and the team a message from the homepage of GoldShieldWealth.com. Always thinking about income, taxes, thinking about your health care, long-term care. These are some of the conversations that you'll have. And again, that second opinion service, if you've saved at least $250,000 or more for your financial future, that second opinion from Amy Ross, no cost, no obligation. 843-585-5223. 843-585-5223. We have a representative standing by right now. All right, let's talk a little bit about, we've called it the Great Wealth Transfer. You probably heard it as the Silver Tsunami as well. Basically, by the year 2045, baby boomer parents are expected to hand down over $50 trillion with a T, trillion.
Ooh,
and
that's a lot of money, Mark.
Let's go. They're going to be passing that down to the kids, to the grandkids. And there was a recent New York Life study that's raising questions over whether this younger generation is ready for this amount, for this inheritance that's going to be coming their way. 50% said that they don't feel confidently prepared for this windfall. So let's talk about the great wealth transfer. Do you work with families of clients to help them prepare for what could be coming?
I do. And I would agree with that statement that most of the children and grandchildren that will be inheriting the money are not prepared. Their parents even don't think they're prepared. I just spoke to a couple in detail about that. They're like, our kids are going to get all this money and we need to set things up so that they don't go blow it, so that's where having the proper plan in place is very important, because the last thing we want is all of our hard-earned work and money to be mismanaged.
Yeah.
I'll say just mismanaged due to lack of knowledge or resources to know how to handle that. So one thing that's very important to me with all of my clients is I want their children to know who I am. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of times the parents don't want the kids to know exactly what they're going to be getting. Sometimes you got to keep some secrets, right? But, by not looking at the taxation of those assets and not being prepared, that can cost you so much money unnecessarily that it's really a shame.
Yeah.
The more people don't get prepared, because it's going to happen.
And you just mentioned it there, the tax implications. I mean, without the proper plan, you don't want all of your life's work to go to Uncle Sam, to go to the IRS. It's so important to make sure that you're properly prepared for what you're going to pass down.
Absolutely. And the one thing that a lot of parents don't think about is that, we try to raise our children right. I mean, in my mind, my son is 24 and I'm so proud of him because, he has a big boy job. He's been promoted twice since he graduated college. He works in IT. And, I hope that Colin, in his adult lifetime, before I die, is able to make a good salary of his own and meet a partner in life that also makes a good living. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about leaving all this money to your children, what some people forget is the fact that the kids are already making really good money too. And then when they're inheriting your money, they also inherit your tax bill and your taxation and all the rules that you have to follow. So you can unnecessarily give tens, hundreds of thousands of money in taxes that you wouldn't have to if you sat down and did a proper estate plan, tax planning. I can do up to 2 generations of tax planning, position that money to where all else fails, we're only giving what we mandatorily have to out to the government in taxes when we die, not just willy-nilly because of bad preparation.
I read this, and correct me if I'm wrong, this could have just been clickbait, but I saw an article that said that when somebody receives a very large inheritance, part of this great wealth transfer, that more often than not, all of that money is gone within 2 years. If there's any truth behind that?
Well, kind of. I mean, have you ever watched My Big Lottery Dream Home?
Yep, I have.
I mean, it's the same idea. Most people are not equipped to handle that kind of money mentally. They don't know what to do with it. So that's where, a lot of my people, they'll set trust up to where, they dictate out how much the kid can get per year, only to basically save them from themselves.
Mm-hmm. If you were to tell somebody, like, let's say I know that I've got an inheritance coming, what is the first piece of guidance that you would offer me?
The biggest thing that what your heirs need to know is that having someone who is equipped to help them manage the windfall of money that can come at them the right way can save them so much. Save that legacy, preserve that legacy, maybe even create a second legacy for your grandkids as well.
When my father passed away, and it was a little bit of an inheritance, nothing major, nothing life-changing, but to me it was, because it was Dad's money. Anyway, I will say that I had somebody I trusted, but I did take a little bit of it, and I spoiled myself, and I bought myself a golf cart. And I will tell you, Amy, that is one of the best investments ever, and I think Dad would be very proud of me.
You think he smiles at you from heaven and says, "Go, Mark, go"? Enjoy that golf cart.
Oh, when we're on the golf cart cruising the neighborhood, I got Gretchen to my right. I got Caroline right behind me. We're listening to music. We are loving every minute of life. I think that's when Dad looks down and goes, "All right, son, that was good use of my money. Well done."
The one thing with the wealth transfer that I do try to impress on my people is sometimes you might want to take a little bit of that wealth and transfer it before you die, meaning take them on a trip. Mm-hmm. Some of the best stories that I get in my office are the ones when people are like, "Oh, we took Johnny and Susie and their kids and we went on a cruise," or "We did this or that with them." That's where you kind of miss out on it. sometimes it's okay to make those memories and transfer the wealth before you die.
Yeah. Have you ever run into somebody that says, hey, I've done pretty well, but when I die, I'm done. My kids fend for themselves. I've been taking care of them my entire life. Have you heard those stories before?
On occasion. But most of the time, parents aren't that way. They really aren't, even if the kids are complete trash to them. Let's be honest, they are. They still, want to leave to their children. There's something mental about that, being able to say, well, I did well enough in my life that I can leave something for the next generation. There's pride in that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there are times that I begrudge the kids getting it because I'm like, you don't deserve that. Your dad worked so hard for that. You ungrateful, you know what? I won't say it on the radio.
But I will in the office if you.
But you know what I'm thinking.
You know exactly. 843-585-5223. So as we talk about the great wealth transfer, whether you plan to pass down part of your legacy to your family or there's a legacy or an inheritance coming your way, do you have the plan to protect yourself and protect your family as well? 843-585-5223, goldshieldwealth.com to get more. And so, Amy, you might have seen this. There is a trend on Instagram of women posting videos correcting their husbands' daily habits. I want you to hear this clip from comedian Patton Oswalt, who says that his wife even uses it to win arguments minutes after it happens.
We will have, and it's a petty argument, we'll be in the kitchen. Sweetie, please don't put the sponge in the sink. It picks up bacteria and germs. And I'll say, well, when I use the sponge, I put hot water and soap on it. It kills any germs. I wouldn't worry about that. And then she won't say anything. And then 20 minutes later, there is a video in my Instagram inbox, an Instagram video, some frantic hippie. Here's the 8 reasons why you can't leave a sponge in the sink. These germs will kill your whole family. And then she'll put a little emoji of that little,
Makes total sense on that one. I want to kind of flip that to what you do in retirement planning. There are some dirty sponges that people overlook, the small details that can create big tax hits. Tell me about some of these dirty sponges that we may not recognize.
Well, not looking at Roth conversions, just ignoring and being like, well, I just don't want to pay. I don't want to have to pay the tax. But, well, you're going to pay it at one point or the other, whether it's now or whether it's later. Choose when you can do it more cost effective. That's one of the big ones. Thinking that RMDs are a set it and forget it tax. You actively have to make sure that you're satisfying those RMDs each year. But also, where do you place the money?
Yeah.
The RMD money. Once you've had to take it out, what do you do with it then? Missing coordination between accounts of what to take out when can crazy raise your tax bill. Basically, the earlier you get started on mitigating different things like with taxes and positioning your money in the right ways, there'll be a lot less of those self-inflicted mistakes that come at you.
So you mentioned that the earlier you get started, what is the right age to really begin taking real conversations, a real look at mitigating taxes? I know we're far away from RMDs, but starting to think about that. Is this something that we should be doing in our 40s or 50s, or is this as we get closer to officially pulling the trigger in retirement?
Well, obviously, the less of a problem you cause, the less you have to fix.
Right.
The truth of the matter is a lot of the baby boomers and the people walking into retirement now didn't have all those tools that the younger generation has. So, when I meet someone in their early 50s and they're really wanting me to look at Roth conversions and all that, the sooner the better to make that make sense for you.
Then what's the misconception behind Roth conversions? Why is it not? Because you hear about 401ks as, income into retirement. Obviously, we talk about Social Security a lot. But Roth conversions is a good opportunity to mitigate some of those taxes. Why is it not more popular?
Well, it's not always a good idea. That's the thing. You got to look and see, is it a good idea for you? So if you're already in your late 60s, early 70s, it can take you 12 to 14 years, even longer, depending on the market conditions and how you've paid the tax bill for that Roth conversion to even make sense for you. So just because everybody's doing them doesn't mean it makes sense for everybody.
Again, if you have any questions, you hear anything on this weekend show, you need some clarity on, nothing wrong with asking the questions to Amy Ross and the team at Gold Shield Wealth. That number is 843-585-5223. Again, 843-585-5223. You can always meet the team online at goldshieldwealth.com or give them a follow across social media. And Amy, every time you sit down with an adult, talk about retirement, you start the conversation the same way.
I say, let's talk money, honey.
So let's talk about it. What do you got for me this weekend?
So the one thing that I would like to encourage people to do now that it's spring and we're right around the corner for vacation time is, maybe look at one thing that you haven't done yet in your retirement that you want to do and start making a plan to make it happen, and sit down with someone and see, how do we pay for this? But I want to go enjoy it without the worry of how to pay for it. So that's the one thing I always think, spring brings cleansing of our minds, and most people are a lot more happy, for lack of a better way to say it. It seems like people's demeanors and everything else is so much better in the spring. So take advantage of that happy mood, and look at one thing that you want to do. Maybe you want to go see some family you haven't seen in a really long time. Go spend some time with them, but start thinking about that. Plan. Good Lord, before oil goes up anymore, start booking those plane tickets. Maybe we should talk about that. If you want to book travel, do it. But give me a call, because I love helping my people do that. I absolutely love it. How do we plan these trips and these things that just make us happy and fulfill our lives? Because that's what money's about. That's what it's for, is to bring us joy and help us make memories and live the life that God gave us to live. So give me a call, 843-585-5223, and I'll help you get it together.
For the joys of taking the family, the kids, the grandkids on a great vacation, knowing that it's not going to break the bank because you have a proper plan.
Like knowing that you've planned for it, the money's there. I laughingly say, when you take your grandkids or your kids, I know I don't have grandkids yet, but I do have kids. They strategically place gift shops at the end of every place you go in. So you have to walk through the gift shop to get out. And then the kid's begging you for a $20 toy that you know is going to be broken in a couple of hours. But you know what? If that's what makes you happy, make a plan for that. Take the grandkids, spoil them.
And
Life is short.
Why are those gift shops like a maze? God, it is.
They are. They trap you in them. So your kids keep asking for stuff, and then you just want to get out so bad. You say yes
and the
to shut them
exit
up.
is in the back corner.
Always.
You can't find your way out. Your kids screaming, all right, fine.
Then they have to take pictures of you doing everything, and those are a bargain price of $25 each, right? But then they plaster them up on screens so your kids see them as you walk by, and they make you feel like a horrible parent saying, no, I'm not buying you that memory. No.
And all the other parents are looking at me, and I'm not buying the Elsa doll, and I'm not buying the picture from the Frozen ride, and I'm not going to buy you a $38 slushie, but I love you. And I hope you have fun on this trip.
As a parent, I have to do that. But as a grandparent, you can spoil them,
whatever
right?
You want.
That's the joy.
Get $2 if you want to. You know what? Get an extra picture for your friends, too.
Make Mom look awful. Mom's a horrible person, but Grandma, she's awesome.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Gold Shield Wealth Financial. Gold Shield Wealth is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Gold Shield Wealth Financial are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Gold Shield Wealth Financial and IPW are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Gold Shield Wealth is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Gold Shield Wealth. This radio show is a paid placement. Any and all services related to Medicare are an outside business activity and are not offered through or supervised by Impact Partnership Wealth, IPW LLC. Gold Shield Wealth has a strategic partnership with tax professionals and attorneys who can provide tax and or legal advice.